And now it's time to welcome our first speaker for the evening, which is Sam Brook, a local developer at Deep End, which is just down the road from here. Sam can be most often found on a skateboard, but please welcome him as he sets foot on Earth to talk about Metropolist, which is sort of Queensland's equivalent of Broadsheet. Please welcome Sam Brook.
Hey guys, I work at Deep End, which is just an agency over the tracks. We do a lot of WordPress stuff and a lot of kind of bigger .NET projects. On the .NET projects I just do front end, but on the smaller WordPress stuff I do front end and back end. So Metropolist is a site that I built at the end of last year. And did some pretty cool funky stuff with it, so I thought it'd be a pretty good choice just to show you some of the stuff I did. If there's anything that you see, just give me a yell partway through and I can try and answer it. Otherwise there's some questions, you can just throw me some questions at the end. So let's just get into it. So Metropolist is a listicle site. So basically it's a lot of kind of just articles with top 10, top 20 kind of items on it. The idea, it's got Google Ads on it for the revenue. It's run by the Urban List team, who have their own main websites for Urban List, but this kind of manages the regional sites, which is at the moment Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast. So the client specs, they have kind of regional sites, so they want people to be able to go to the Gold Coast kind of version area and see all the Gold Coast articles, and then go to the Sunshine Coast. They want to be able to share content between those regions, so if there's an article that is used on both, they just want to be able to write it once and have it appear in kind of both areas of the site, in both sites. Obviously you want it to be responsive, they want it kind of magazine style and feel. They also want to kind of the auto load, magic loading content, so as you scroll more content just appears. They also want to use the Google Ads, share buttons, and then kind of like the rest of the stuff that I won't cover. So from a dev perspective, we've got WordPress multi-site, and I'll get into why I chose WordPress multi-site over just a single site. I'm using Timber for a WordPress plugin, which kind of gives you more MVC style control in WordPress. ACF for the custom fields, and 3WP broadcast, which I'll get into soon for sharing content. I'll cover the infinite scroll article stuff, a little bit about the WordPress theme, how I covered responsive Google Ads, Ajaxing those Google Ads, and I'll show you a couple of the templates, but I won't actually go into all detail of all 10, but I'm just saying there's kind of 10 main templates to give you an overview of the site. So why not a single site? So the problem with a single site is category URLs for starters. You can't have a permalink that has the same category. So if I was using /Gold Coast and then food, and then I had /Sunshine Coast /food, WordPress would make food, the second one, food-food. It only allows unique category names. So that was one of the major issues at the start. It would have been hard to keep visitors in the same kind of region. So when they're browsing around the site, if it wasn't separate sites, then it's kind of how would you manage that user experience, keeping them in one area of the site, and then all the links you want to keep them in Gold Coast and not let that kind of bleed over to the other one. The per region settings, so there's going to be a lot of settings per site, so it's nicer to have them managed all in one kind of contained area. Same with the content, it's going to be easier for admins just to manage the content on one site. So the WordPress setup. So I'm using, for the multiple regions, I'm using WordPress multi-site, and I've got 2 sites, so that's kind of the drop down from the site, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, and that's the equivalent of, in the back end, a landing site for the landing page, which lets you jump between which site you want to use, and then obviously the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast. So that's kind of like the super admin view. That's just saying kind of, as I said, 3 sites total at the moment, landing 1 per each region. So sites and URL structure. So we've got metropolist.com.au as the landing, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast. And then category URLs. So by default, category URLs and WordPress will put the category in there. which wasn't really ideal for a kind of Google and user point of view. So we can make them friendly URLs. So we can just rock this guy, the remove category URL plugin, surprisingly. And so you just install that plugin and bam, category URLs are gone. I didn't find any kind of problems rocking that. It was a quick, easy solution. So settings per site. So ACF fields via JSON. So that's making all your custom fields locally on your own version of the site. And then when you upload it to production, you don't actually enable the, I think it's the editing. Either way, you can basically show it so that the admin users and the production site, they can't see the custom fields that you've created, and they're pulling out of the JSON files so that you also get kind of history in Git, and you can see the version control of your custom fields. And you can kind of, if you give that a Google, it's a much better way to kind of manage your ACF fields on production versus local. Kind of one source of the truth for your fields. So because all these three sites are just going to use the same theme, by default, because the custom fields are stored in JSON in the theme directory, they'll all get the same custom fields on each of the sites. So that way you're managing one set of custom fields, but it's actually spread over 3 sites. That's part of the modify locally. So this is what you get in the back end for the custom fields, and so this would be the same for each region site. That kind of leads me to the big one, which was sharing content between sites. So we just got given the spec of like, hey, this is what we want, you kind of had to get us there. And sharing content between sites was probably the biggest concern I had of mine, because by default WordPress doesn't really like you doing that. Each sub-site has all its own tables, all its own data, and I hadn't come across something in the past that, I'd do that I'd used kind of shared content between sites. So I knew it was going to be a bit of a mission. On top of that, it needs canonical URLs to prevent content duplication. So if Google spots that you've got the same content on 2 exact pages in your site, it's going to downrate both of those pages. So you have to have a canonical URL, which basically says in the header, it's going to put a little link to the original content on your site, and then Google's totally cool with that. It also needs to be able to share all the page attributes. So page attributes are ACF fields like repeater, custom media, WordPress SEO fields, the uploaded media, post and category tags. So at this stage I was kind of worried. Then came across this plugin. So the theme WP, or 3WP broadcast, and it has a premium pack which adds a bunch of kind of the requirements that are needed. So this guy lets you share pages between your sites, so you can broadcast a page to another site. It will also let you copy the ACF content, including repeaters and custom media in those repeaters. It will do reference any uploaded media to that page, like featured image. It does the taxonomy stuff for you. Like, it basically nailed all of my requests and actually worked as it said on the tin. So I was pretty damn stoked with that. As a bonus, provides the canonical URL meta tags, and that prevents that penalty on the Google. So I was like stoked with that as well. I would have if I didn't have the rest of the stuff to do. And as a bonus, it also duplicates the users for the site. So that one I was pretty stoked with. I was like, hey, they're gonna have that for free. But this allows them to have, they've got heaps of authors, because they cycle through a lot of authors on their site. So this kind of allows them, when they get an author to come in and do guest posts, they can set it up once and like cross that user over to other sites, which lets them farm out their content kind of thing a lot easier.
That happens you can make that happen by default in multi-site though.
Can you?
Right, yes.
I don't, from what I found, you can?
Yes. Yeah, so I've got multiple users doing things.
So you'll
It does
share.
it for you as well. Yes,
Yeah.
I've got shared users on.
So yeah, it's got loads more plugins. I think it's got, if you get the premium, it will integrate with WooCommerce, TablePress, WPML, plus like a whole bunch of other major plugins. It has like 30 or more kind of like features that allow you to like set up like redirects when it hits a child page, changing the permalinks, all this other stuff. So has quite a lot of depth. Like, it's just crazy how much stuff it can do. And it wasn't a super active plugin, maybe 400 active installs. So Yeah, it's just surprising how well it worked. Yeah, and for pretty decent price for premium. So where we're at. So we've done the multi-site, we covered some of the ACF and 3WP broadcast, and so we've got the timber, some infinite scroll. Yeah, cruise through this, don't worry. So the requirements for the infinite scroll. So when you load past the summary as well, and when we scroll past the article, we need to load in the next content. We need to update the URL. So when you're scrolling down and you get to another article, it should update the URL. So if someone's looking at that site and they want to share that site to someone else, they can just grab the URL and it's going to be the article that you're actually reading. And it also needs to update the share icons, like add this or share this, as you get to the next article at the same time. And it also needs to be able to customize the response. So what I mean by that is the client had a request that when you scroll to the next article at the bottom, they only wanted it to suck in the preview, like the summary text. And they also wanted, I think, every second summary to include an ad as well, just on top of that. So I was like, sweet, plugins. I had so much luck with the broadcast plugin, this shouldn't be a big deal. So there's auto load next post plugin, and this other guy, which I actually didn't see back then. Yeah, no good. So they're difficult to customize. Those auto scroll plugins kind of are more for just you drag and drop. If you've got pretty standard content, it will just load them in, no big deal. But if you're trying to customize when the hooks happen, trying to customize what else is happening when it loads in more content, if you're trying to customize, like if you're trying to hook into basically what it's loading and when it's loading, and some of them also tried to just like load the next 30 articles up front instead of just the next one. So it's also just like spamming your like downloading all of the content, which wasn't really ideal either. So rolled custom solution. So Timber, React, and jQuery waypoints. So Timber, that's going to handle the MVC style of WordPress. So that kind of lets you easily return page JSON data instead of the actual view. So Timber let me just say, oh, when I'm loading up the page, if there's a request parameter that says, hey, I want this page as JSON, I can just return it all as JSON instead of sending up the actual markup. React was kind of just the jQuery, was just the interface for managing the components and managing the auto scroll. So that kind of just managed the state of where it's at, and also managed like the requests for each of the next articles and what article you're currently on. And it also decided when to update the share icons as well. jQuery waypoints, so that's the guy that kind of does the actual meat of deciding when and what. So as you scroll to the bottom of the screen, when your screen hits a certain point, you can load in, you can trigger to fire in to load in the next article. And then when you scroll back up, you can trigger in again to say you're back on the previous article. So then you can update the URL, update the share icons accordingly whenever you hit those triggers. So if this guy loads, so this is just an iframe to the site. So you can see this is just still the same article, same content. And if we hit the bottom of the article,
Pretty sure it's not happening.
oh, just for me.
Special.
That's tough. Okay, I'll just give a demo of that at the end. It'll be easier. That's a real pity, guys. So, covered the infinite scroll. So now kind of the single responsive WordPress theme. Oh, sorry, no, Google Ads even. So Google Ads, I thought would be a bit of a snap. Obviously the most used ad platform on the net. However, there were some problems right off the bat. So when you embed a Google ad, it requires a unique ID like on the element. So this means you can't recycle the same ads because it wants a unique reference for that ad. So basically what they're saying is like one element per ad on the page, like that single ad once on the page. You're not allowed to like just Ajax more ads in apparently, and you cannot repeat that ad on the page. And it has a API for doing the responsive stuff, but I found that it didn't actually trigger as it said on the kind of docs. So unless someone else has had better experience with that, I found that pretty tough. And so with some Googling, I came across this guy, and then I also kind of came across, when I found people doing the same kind of stuff I wanted to do, digging into their source, they were using this as well. So this is kind of like a wrapper for the Google ads. You can embed divs, any divs with just an attribute and pass it kind of the ID of the ad, and then you can pull, so you can have many of those as you want on the page. You can like load ads, you can make a new element on the page and then just load an ad into it. You can repeat the ads on the page. And so what allowed me to do is when I Ajaxed new content in, I could also then refresh the ads in the content that came through the Ajax content. So it allowed me to basically put ads in the infinity scroll. So just covering over some of the magazine style stuff. So we've got, oh yeah, actually. So we've got Timber for, oh hello. There you go. So yeah, Timber managed the partials and the views in my thing. Flexbox was the first time I got to properly use Flexbox on production. It was super helpful for the magazine layout. And it's also plays quite nicely when you do responsive stuff. Sass, just all the standard cool stuff with Sass. And I was using the BEM style syntax just for naming convention, which was quite good. And that relates well if you're using Sass to do a whole bunch of imports. So basically what I did was I modularized all of the components that I could find on the site and made a Sass file for each one of them, so it made maintenance a lot easier. And then you can have a grunt plugin that allows you to kind of do like a star import, so you can import a whole folder's worth of 30 kind of Sass files and it'll just pull them all in. And if you're using kind of BEM syntax, then you shouldn't have any problems with what order those files get loaded in because you won't know what order they came in. Kind of that's a high level view of kind of the funky grids that I had to do. So that's kind of covering most of the bases. I'll see if I can just pull up the site. Okay, cool. So this is the site. If we choose like Gold Coast, so this first landing page is an actual sub-site. And then we're kind of got this guy going in. Got some funky kind of weather stuff here. This is the drop down to jump to the other site. Got a kind of slideshow in there. And then if we scroll down, so this is the grid that I was talking about that I used Flexbox with. That was really helpful. Really good at aligning stuff to the bottom. More custom grid stuff. I'm guessing ads are hidden, maybe. So if we look at an article, and we'll find that when we get to the bottom, related articles, so this is near the footer of the article, and we have loaded another article in. So you can see that now this is just loading the summary, and those click to expands actually just load into the next article. And so you don't even notice that like it didn't load all of these up front, but all of these next articles have just been kind of loaded on the fly as it scrolls down. Yeah, if we're really fast, maybe we can get there. Yeah.
So if you were to refresh the page on that URL, would it take you directly to that?
Yeah, let's hope so, eh? Let's see. Where are we at? Sorry. So, I have a feeling that the browser's trying to scroll down to where we were before. Did that match?
Yeah.
Hey-oh. Yeah, so. Yeah, any questions on that?
When changing the, you said also changing the URL. Are you change the URL as it scrolls to the top of that post, or when you load more?
Yeah, so I scrolled when you scrolled past the title. Like, it was really weird because it was actually quite a weird thing to work out when to do the article change. Do you do it when the bottom of the next post hits the bottom of your screen? Do you do it when it's halfway up? It was quite hard to find a natural spot to change that up. I could see that it wasn't actually loading the share icons on that page, but basically the share icons were kind of halfway down the site, and as soon as the halfway point hit, I'd update those as well. And also had to make sure that I was just updating the actual bit in the bar rather than doing, rather than trying to like actually doing push state, because otherwise I had some funky issues with push state, with going backwards and forwards between articles, because when you do push state, it'll try and put that article, that URL in the browser, and it'll, instead of actually going back to the page you're on.
So that then, so hitting the back will actually take you
Because you kind of have, because those other articles, they're just summaries, so you're not actually looking at them, they're just kind of more information, but you still want to be able to kind of show the URL. I guess the reason was that originally we were loading the whole article in when you scroll down, but they wanted to get more of the clicks, so they did the summary. Yeah.
How long did it take you to build it?
I was trying to remember, over 4 weeks and probably under 8 weeks. Yeah.
The multi-sites.
Yeah.
How many sites can you actually put on?
You can just keep going, I believe.
Keep on going?
So to set up another one, there's only like a little bit of admin we'd have to do for them, but basically they'll be able to spin up another site
And how
on the
much
fly.
sort of info? You've got basically one page in front which allows you to go to either.
Yeah.
Could you make that deeper? Like, could you make sort of a normal website as the front, and then just have the multi-site one deeper part of it? Like, say you just had the things to do.
You can do that.
Just start splitting that up into multiple sites where they.
You can just kind of like add one on with the folder structure style naming URLs. You can either do it multi-site on subdomains or on folder style, so where it's just.
Why did you choose to do it folder? That was my question. Why did you choose to do it folder style rather than subdomain?
Subdomains, they requested their URL structure. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah.
Does the search function work? Like, does it go across?
Isn't there? So the search function stays within that site, and so it just indexes the site that you are currently in.
So if you're delving deep and you're on a sub-page and it's got its URL, it'll just search from there on.
Like if you're using the search within the WordPress site, it'll just search that site. Yeah, otherwise Google will just index it as normal, like one big site. The WordPress SEO stuff, I think it was Yoast did all the sitemap stuff for me. And on the homepage, it's also pulling out the sub-sites dynamically. So if they add another one, it'll just pop up on the homepage as another button that they can click on to go through. Yeah.
With the menu, the top level menu that goes back to the parent site or to the two child sites, is that one menu that's flowing all the way through, or you've just got separate menu items, separate?
This guy here.
Yeah.
So that's just.
Sorry, further up, your Gold Coast.
Oh yeah, so that dynamically pulls out. That's just dynamically hard coded to pull out any of the multi-site sites. That weather data is from like BOM. The API is not the greatest. And then that main menu is just managed by WordPress menus. Yeah.
Is this user-generated or community-generated?
No, just editor generated. They've got a lot of editors. Yeah. Yeah, cool. All right. What's that, sorry? Flexbox?
Is it pretty much, you could use it now?
Yeah, so we moved to using, at work, our policy is browser usage. We only target browsers that are over 2% usage. And basically, when Windows 10 kind of got a little bit of traction, it pulled a lot up out of that IE 10 kind of thing. And then once IE 10 was gone, it was, free reign.
Was the client alright with that?
Client was cool with it and made sure at the start. Yeah. Yeah, sweet. All right, thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to Joel, who's up next. Joel's a WordPress developer who resides and operates as a freelancer in the leafy eastern suburbs. He's been making websites for around about 15 years now.
Yes.
And you've
Bad
done
ones.
a terrifying thing of switching starship
I have.
themes recently. So that's what he's here to talk about. Please welcome Joel.
Okay. Good morning. G'day everyone. Yes, so the name says it all. I've been using a particular theme as my starter theme for about 4 years. My 15 years has been very sporadic, sort of Flash, all the usual progress that developers make when they're doing it as a hobby. But yeah, the last 5 years as a WordPress developer, and then 3-ish years using the Woo Themes Canvas theme as my starter theme. So I have a folder on my computer, it's got all my preferred plugins, my preferred theme, and then I just take a copy of that and away I go. So that's been working up until now. As I do each project, I find myself repeating the same kind of stuff, trying to contort it into matching up with the Photoshop comps that I do, and it's always hard work. So I've changed my process. So this isn't going to be very advanced, it's more of an intermediate kind of WordPress kind of stuff, but that'll make it nice and easy for us to sort of slide into Bureau Clock. So yeah, my background is up there. I've also used, in addition to Canvas, I've used a lot of marketplace themes and the paint that goes along with that. The main reason I chose Canvas was it was easy to use. Out of the box, you've got this nice layout. You've got a few template options. It works well with WooCommerce. I didn't dig too far into that. I just thought, okay, WooCommerce with themes, it's all sort of linked, so it'll work well. And about half of my clients were on doing e-commerce projects, so it made sense. And there was good support when you needed it. So my process hasn't really changed that much, and I should say I've only just sort of switched themes, so a lot of this stuff is new, so I'll probably change things along the way. But basically I mock something up, I get client approval, I code it, I pull my hair out, Google a lot to figure out how to do certain things with Canvas, like hooks and filters and all that stuff that is a bit over my head sometimes. Then I attack the CSS, and that's the main reason why I'm switching, because I get lost in CSS specificity, having to override the parent themes, structure, kind of like trying to work with Gravity Forms, and you've got to really bend it to your will. So then upload the site, get approval, and it works. It's fine. It's quick. There's just a bit too much bloat in there that we don't really need, so hence my change. So what's wrong with that? So these are some of the sites I've built using Canvas. So they're sort of a cross-section of different styles-ish. They've all got navigation, so that's a common theme. But yeah, so I don't really stick to the Canvas model. It's not going to look like a plain, boring old theme. Yeah, so I've sort of covered a little bit. So the bloated CSS. So there's a lot of stuff in Canvas where you've got your base style sheet, and then there's an additional short codes style sheet as well. So I usually code that out because I don't use short codes at all. And so I'm left with my style sheet, and that is like I think out of the box 124 kilobytes, which you could really minify, but usually I'd probably just leave it unminified. So that's a lot of space that's being set up for styles that you're probably not going to use. The templates in Canvas and I guess all Woo Themes kind of products are complex for me. I'm sort of a linear kind of guy. I want to look at the page and say, okay, this is this block, loading in. It all makes sense. But some of the stuff with Canvas is, it goes off here and does this filter and goes into your theme actions. And I'm like, oh my god. So I thought, well, this is not for me, because at the start of each project you start out and you think, okay, this is going to take 10 hours, 12 hours. I'll quote accordingly. And then you just get stuck, and then you waste time, and you come home from work and you're stressed, and your wife doesn't like you anymore. So it's time to take control. And I found that with Canvas and most themes that you can get, there's a lot of configuration you can do within the WordPress admin, and then there's some stuff you do with CSS. So I was finding myself sort of jumping into the admin and doing stuff there, and doing stuff in CSS and PHP. And I was like, this is not working. So alternatives. So I I've been dabbling in different solutions for a while. I've used underscores. I've used a few other things. So for me, underscores is a bit too light because I'm not the world's greatest developer. I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, I need to build an accordion using JavaScript, and I'm just going to build it from scratch. I'm a little bit lower level than that. So that was a bit too lightweight. Sorry, Gary. I had a look at Sage, and that again, that was a bit too command liney kind of stuff. I was like, oh, I'm happy with my code kit, so I'll just stick with what I'm comfortable with. And then I stumbled across Joints WP, which is a theme that utilizes Foundation 6, which is by Zerb. And that seemed to tick the boxes that I was looking to tick. So I gave it a go. So the main reasons I chose it were flexibility. So you can turn on or off the modules that you load in, whether it be CSS or the JavaScript modules. Great documentation for Joints WP and also for Foundation 6. And you can also, I haven't used them, but you can get some templates that come with Foundation 6. Some base sort of magazine, blog, e-commerce kind of stuff. So you can use those, and then out of the box you sort of away with a bit of a head start on a template. And it also comes with some building blocks, so kind of like code snippets. So you use the underlying stuff that comes with Foundation 6, and you basically just copy this code snippet and it'll get it ready for you. So this is the first site I've used Foundation Joints WP on. I didn't design it, so I'm not going to take credit for that because there's some things I'd change. But benefits so far, I basically started from scratch. So I loaded up my template and then I just built the content. I didn't do any CSS stuff. I just got the content in there, which is different for me. It might be logical to other people who might be doing it already, but for me, I would always be back and forth. I'll do some template stuff, I'll do some CSS stuff, and I'd get confused. So, so I built all the content and then went back and did all the CSS. So that I found that really refreshing. It was quick for me. So the speed was very important. It comes with Flexbox, which you can use or you can not use if you don't want to. So it just falls back to your standard float-based grid if you don't want to use it. But like Sam, I don't support anything older than IE 10. And there are polyfills out there if you want to use Flexbox and support older versions of IE. What's her name? Zoe Gillen. I want to say Gyllenhaal, but that's an actress. I saw a talk the other day where they support Flexbox back to IE 7 somehow. I was watching it and then it was about an hour and I was cooking dinner, so I didn't take it all in. But there is support out there for back to IE 7 if you want to search it out. Benefit is clean code, so I can look at it and I can go, yeah, I know that makes sense. I'm not going to have to search over here and over there and try and find stuff. And just doing a sort of an A/B kind of test with my standard kind of site that I would compare this kind of design to. It's already 100 kilobytes lighter in terms of CSS, so I'm already winning. There's some links to all of the things that I might have referenced in my very quick talk. And thank you very much. Any questions?
How long did it take you to pick up Foundation 6 if you weren't using it? How long was it like a day that you felt comfortable? Or?
Yeah, not even. I guess it sort of depends on your skill level, but and I don't know everything about Foundation 6 yet. I know there's a bunch of other stuff that when I was doing this, I was finding out for the first time. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll use that next time. But to get up and running, I basically just refer to their docs. Their grid system's really cool because you can do, you put all your classes in your PHP template, so small, medium, large, and it does the breakpoints for you. I needed an accordion list for the FAQ page, so you toggle them on and off, and you just basically apply class names to the elements, and it does it all for you. So I didn't have to get too deep into it, so it was maybe an hour to achieve what I needed to for that particular theme. So it's not hard. And in terms of installing it, you basically just download it, chuck it in your SAS folder or however you use it. You can use CSS as well. You don't have to use SAS with it. And I was away. So far, so good. So.
You can use different, if you choose to, you don't have to use components, you can bring in your own components, like a JavaScript component.
Oh yeah, you can do all that. Yep, yeah, you can add whatever you want to it. It does come with a range of different modules for that kind of stuff. So a slider, accordion, some other ones. A modal box, that's quite a good one. I've used Foundation 5 on a site in the past, and I didn't really read the documentation, so I found that a bit of a nightmare. But and I was trying to do some weird stuff with it. But the modal for that was really good. So it was basically just applying your classes, and it did it for me. So yeah, I was happy with that. Any other questions? No? Going. Cool. Thank you.